Hey everybody, welcome back to the Winner's Circle. I'm Derrick.
And I'm Cody.
And we are here for basically week 11 of Survivor. We're going to go over the recap.
Yeah.
But before we get into it, holidays are here. So everybody, happy holidays. I know everyone's getting into the spirit right now. Before we started recording, I was talking to Cody. I currently have a little dilemma going on. I want to put Christmas lights on my house, but I was telling Cody, my house is tall. My house is not big by any means, but my house is very tall. And frankly, I'm scared. I'm scared to go up on the ladder. And I'm scared that if I go up there, like, how crappy would it be if I like seriously injure myself putting up Christmas lights? I mean, talk about ruining the holidays.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this. I've done the lights with my dad outside all the time. And my brother and I have helped. That situation has never happened. My father was going up into our garage attic. We have an attic above our garage. One of these, this was like years ago. My mom was helping him. She's obviously not sturdy on the ladder. And my dad, so the ladder started to slip while and this is like a good 12 feet. Our garage, the attic above the garage, it's not a short drop. He's at the top. And like, if you grab, you're going to bring the whole roof down. So my dad ultimately made the decision, like, I'm just going to eat this and roll with it. Thankfully, it wasn't like you would probably be, 2 stories, almost 2.5 stories up. My dad wasn't that high. So he just kind of like rolled with it, hurt his back a little bit, but that stuff does happen. So you have to roll the dice.
It's a roll of the dice. And Cody, before this, and you guys weighing on this in the comments, I was like, if I fall from 40 feet, I'm dead. And he's like, nah, I don't think you die.
You hurt your leg.
40 feet, wrong way.
Hold up. Let's see.
Yeah, 40 feet's up there, bro. On your back, on your
Here's the thing,
head.
Though, right? So here's the thing. You're falling 40 feet. Hopefully it's not backwards, because the way that you put the ladder up, it's on the incline to like, so that if it's going to go down, maybe it slides. Maybe you rip up your house a little bit, but you could ride it down.
That's best case scenario. But if it goes left or right,
you're going sideways, maybe you could get on.
You got to jump off. You got to hold on to the windows.
Tom Cruise.
Yeah, no, I'm getting seriously hurt.
No, you are. You're
like I'm like
but what I say, you are going to get hurt, but I don't know about, listen, you can die.
Luck,
you can
I'd die from putting up Christmas tree lights. All the dangerous shit I've done in my life, raids and all these things, yeah. I'm going to die from hanging Christmas tree lights for sure.
Not it.
That's how not doing it. But also on a more serious note, we are going to talk about it. I say it every week. We're going to do our headline topics separately. We're going to be talking about the whole Chris Cuomo situation and also about Oxford, Michigan. So although we're saying happy holidays, it seems like every week we're doing this now, which is unfortunate, but thoughts and prayers with everybody in Oxford, Michigan. We're going to do a separate video on it. But again, even though this is a lighter note, we want to let you guys know that we're here. We're thinking about you, and terrible situation again. I don't know where it starts, but we'll get into that more. Yeah. When we hit it. All right, guys, we're going to take a second to talk to you about HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. A couple things we want to talk about with HelloFresh. The holidays can be hectic, but with HelloFresh, it helps keep things simple with recipes that cut back on meal prep and cleanup so you can spend less time in the kitchen and more quality time with friends and family. HelloFresh offers 50 menu and market items to choose from every week, including vegetarian, calorie smart, and gourmet options, providing plenty of variety for everyone. I've been using HelloFresh for a while now. It's one of our family favorites because not only are the meals delicious, not only is there plenty of food, not only is it good, healthy choices instead of going to like a Burger King or McDonald's, what it really does for me and my family is my kids love playing chef. So we have all these ingredients laid out for us. It usually comes with a really nice colorful card that shows how the meal should look. And my oldest daughter, Tenley, really gets a kick out of it because we see what we're trying to make and she gets to play chef with me. So not only is it a good meal, but it's a family bonding time. We really enjoy it in my household, and we actually think you guys will too.
Yeah, so guys, if you want to get some HelloFresh, we're going to need you guys to go to HelloFresh.com/WinnerCircle14 and use code WinnerCircle14 for up to 14 free meals and 3 free gifts. Again, that is HelloFresh.com/WinnerCircle14 and use code WinnerCircle14 for up to 14 free meals and 3 free gifts. Guys, HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit.
All right, so we're back from break. Let's talk about this week's episode. I want to say this was a good episode, but not as great, in my opinion, as we've had the last few weeks. We've been spoiled.
Yeah.
Like drama, not knowing. Yeah. You didn't know what was going to happen, but it just didn't have that feel like some of the previous episodes. So without further ado, let's get right into it. The show opens like it usually does with the fallout from the tribal from the previous week. And you can tell right out now that Shan was sent home. It was a blindside for Liana. She's understandably very upset with Deshawn and Danny. Would you make of that whole conversation?
I think her frustration is very understandable. She was blindsided. Not only was she blindsided, like, okay, you guys didn't tell me that Shan was going, but like, you didn't tell me that votes were going to come my way. I would be livid. There'd be no trust. There'd be no trust. But what I will say is kind of, she was hitting a lot of good points. Like, we cannibalized ourselves. Like we cannibalized ourselves. We did it to ourselves. I think that came out of a little frustration, because if you look at the numbers, right? I mean, it was happening no matter what. Even if Danny or Deshawn wasn't on board with it, it was going to go that way. It just would have been a different vote count. They want to split the votes. I think, because like Ricard, Heather, Erica, and Xander, that's enough votes to have sent her home, or at least dialed it down where she's not voting, and then they can go at it again because Xander had extra votes. Like, it just wasn't going to go their way no matter what. But Liana is very understandably pissed off, because for Danny and Deshawn, they're imploding on the alliance.
And they had a bond that was supposedly bigger than the game. Yeah. And then what did you think about, because we transitioned from that, what did you think about Xander's little narrative at that point? We talk about how they edit the show and kind of give certain people edits. What do you think about Xander saying, hey, I went from being at the bottom to now, am I at the top? Am I like in the best position in this game? Like, how'd that happen?
Yeah. I mean, that is such a huge thing for people to notice if you're playing this game, and you may seem like you're at the bottom, but as long as you don't do anything to really get yourself kicked out the door, you can end up sticking out in the game and just ultimately going to a better position, because people in an alliance or in a group end up targeting each other and implode on each other. And Xander was a perfect example of it. Erica's a perfect example of it. Like, you just got to do your best to kind of stay like doggy paddle above water. And then all of a sudden stuff starts happening and people start imploding and alliances start falling into the water, and you come out on the raft. You come out on top. It's kind of crazy.
You're king of the castle at that point.
Yeah,
wild. It can change quick. And I guess that goes to the thing of like, hey, maybe the goal is to just survive another day, because you never know what's going to happen in that 24-hour period between those days. One final thing before we get into the immunity challenge, and we're not trying to rush through, but the show was very like quick in the beginning, and it was very backloaded as far as the tribal.
Correct.
The tribal was almost 20 minutes of the show.
Yeah.
So the only other thing that I thought was of importance to mention was the whole situation with Danny and his father. Yeah. Why don't you walk us through that? Because I mean, that was really impactful. I love Danny. We both love Danny. Yeah. So it was nice to get a little bit more insight on him, see some of his photos. Yeah. By the way, Dallas Cowboys, that's so sick that he played for the Dallas Cowboys.
I mean, it's awesome because you see Dan. I mean, one thing I want to say about Danny is in the immunity challenge, you see how much weight he's lost?
Yeah, man.
He looks like frail.
It makes sense though, right? Like the biggest guys that like need the most protein to like stay that size.
And just as soon as they working out, having a workout routine, and you're lifting, and all of a sudden you have all this muscle, and you see, I mean, he's still ripped up. He's still shredded with muscle, but you see how much weight he's lost. It's like, whoa, it's crazy. Right? Anyways, I just had noticed that, and I was like, whoa, that is crazy how thin Danny has gotten. But yeah, it had that really, really, really touching moment about his father, and then about him being a father. And I absolutely loved it, because Danny, he's a man of few words on this show. But you saw this like soft side, and it's nice to see that, because he doesn't really talk a lot. He has this intensity, which you can tell the kind of football player he probably was. He was probably a guy that would hit you at 180 miles an hour and then help you up off the ground and not like talk smack afterwards. He just doesn't seem like that guy. And getting a little bit of an insight into his life and his home life was really cool. I love I love hearing about like those like how much it means to people to become a parent. As somebody who's not a parent, who I like can't wait to be a parent, I love hearing that. Like Danny was just like, it meant the world to me to be a father. And after having my father pass away 25 years ago, which is crazy, it was a really, really good moment. I really liked it.
Yeah. You know what else? For me, it was relatable in the sense that these reality shows really have a way of showing you what's important in life, because we move so fast every day. You know, and I remember being on Big Brother, and like, because there's really nothing to do but think, and that's either think about the game or think about life for those few moments. And I remember how many things I thought about the way was living my life up to that point, my family, my friends, and you really do kind of break down what's important, what you miss, what you don't miss. Like I never missed my phone while I was in there, things like that. What I missed was my family. Yeah. And it does drive home the importance of like what we should be focused on. And it allows you to kind of maybe dissect things that you've never given yourself time to kind of think about. And in this case, it was Danny's relationship with his father and how he kind of resented him for leaving him. But being out on an island with nothing to do but be to yourself and collect your thoughts, it's allowed him to kind of open his mind and have a new perspective on it. So if anything, even if Danny doesn't win this game, I mean this, he's leaving that island with something that you can't put a price on. So good for you, Danny. I hope you're following through that. I'm sure you are, but it was a really cool moment, and we're happy for you. We're happy we got to experience that with you.
Yeah. You tend to see that dive a little bit, right? Like with a guy that didn't have a relationship with his father and how important it is for him to not have that same situation happen with his kid. Right. And I love that. Absolutely. It made me have so much respect for him. I don't know. You and I have talked Danny up a lot. We love Danny. Yeah, it just added another layer to like who this guy is and why we like him so much. It just gave us another reason to like him even more.
It's great. We've gotten a lot of those this year with like little backstories behind certain players, whether it's Ricard with the hearing, Liana, Shan. We've gotten some good ones. So let's transition. Let's dive into the immunity challenge, okay? Because it pretty much after that, that's the big thing we're next,
going right to the tribal.
And the challenge itself, pretty simple. Not going to dissect that because it's pretty simple. There's just a bunch of pieces of wood in the middle, and you have this little ball resting on the top of it. And the moral of the story is keep those pieces pushed together as hard as you can, because if you let up even for a second, they're going to fold in on each other, and the ball's going to fall off.
Survivor Classic, right?
Yeah, it's a Survivor Classic. It's very difficult, but there's not much to it. Just who's got the most will, who has the most will and the most focus. But Jeff, like he's been doing a lot this year, decides to throw a twist out there, change it up. And this is a pretty crazy twist. So what he offers them is, hey, listen, if you decide right now not to play in the immunity challenge, you won't be eligible for the immunity idol, obviously. However, if you decide to play today and you're the first one eliminated, the first one to drop their ball, you will be entered in this do or die twist, which essentially means there'll be a game of chance. And if you pick the wrong one, you go home, you die. And there's no saving you with an immunity idol, there's no nothing. It's basically just a game of chance, and whatever the Survivor gods decide will be your future. So all this time you've played the game, almost 21, I think it was 21 days, he said, could all be down the drain just by you deciding to play in this immunity challenge. So what do you think of the twist? I know I was seeing Twitter. The jury is kind of mixed on it. Some people like it. Some people like, okay, I'm over all the twists this year, especially a twist that, again, has nothing to do with strategy. It's just like pure chance. And you could have a really good player going home.
Yeah. Well, so you think about kind of how everything played out, right? And finding out what the competition ended up being, or I don't even know the competition, the chance that he ended up having to go home, because Deshawn ends up being the first one out. And only 5 people chose to play. Heather and Liana sat out. Honestly, that comes back to bite Liana in the butt. But there's only 5 of them competing, and you would think Deshawn was going to hold up a little bit stronger. But then again, in those competitions, like you said, you never know. But I don't know, man. I'm obviously, so for me in that situation, I'm competing no matter what, and I'm hoping that I'm not the first one out. Because at this point in the game, there's only 7 people left. I'm not feeling confident enough. And I think it also says something to everybody else if you choose to not play. I mean, Heather had her reasoning, right? We heard her reasoning at the tribal. But is that a good enough reason? Like, you're fighting for your life. You don't ultimately go, well, I've lost to them in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's like the thing was they got to see the challenge beforehand.
Yeah.
So they knew what it was. And maybe she's like, I don't have the arm strength to compete with these guys. And
you
there's
never
a very
know.
good chance.
On any given day, the greatest upset stories would never be the case if the other team decided, you know what, we've lost to them 3 times this year. Let's just not play this 4th time and give them the title.
I will say this. You are a man of your words, because if you remember on season 16, you're like, yo, I'm rolling with it. And you were the first person out in that veto, and you ended up in a dino costume for 2 weeks. And you were like one of the best competitors in the house. So like, if you would have told me, who do you think it's going to be? I would have been like, not Cody.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That was a weird competition. I don't know how I.
And not only that, it wasn't really a game of like who wants it more.
Yeah,
it was just kind of like that was a tough game, dude.
This Survivor competition, which every single one, as we get to these individual immunities, now like the puzzles are almost. I haven't seen a puzzle. It's all these endurance all about competitions that are brutal.
And it's a lot of mental, right? Like, it's not like who's the strongest. It's just like the people who do the best are the ones who can just mentally like zone everything out, like Ricard and they just have it. And we'll get into it because we're going to probably say it accidentally. But as you just mentioned, Liana and Heather sit out. So that leaves Ricard, Deshawn, Xander, Danny,
and Erica.
And Erica. Erica's the first one to go. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I apologize. Deshawn's the first one to go. He's now going to be playing in the do or die. The next one to go is Erica. Then you have basically Ricard and Xander both dropping their balls simultaneously, leaving Danny with the immunity idol for the week. This is his first immunity idol, and you could tell it was really emotional for him. I'm sure he was exhausted too, but just the whole thing, it kind of tied in with what the segment they had just played right before that. He was emotional, and as a competitor, I'm sure that means even more to him because those guys, their mentality is winner go home. Like that's the way they're built.
And he hasn't had an individual win yet. So it means that much more. It means that much more. Like he's been right there. Like, you know, it's not like he's like the first one out of the one competition, but he's right in these. And so it's nice to get that individual win. But it kind of was a bittersweet one because he knew his, you know, essentially they haven't put a name on it. What it seems like to be his final two, Deshawn, was out first. And he was like, dude, you couldn't not get out first. Like we couldn't ride this through. And you know, so it was a little bittersweet, but I think he definitely enjoyed getting his first win.
No, it's a big win for sure. And what's next to come is a long tribal with a lot going on in it. And we're going to get right into it. But before we do, let's take a quick ad break.
All right, guys. So we want to take a quick second to talk to you about Magic Mind. Magic Mind is a great ingredient. It's almost like a shot that you'll take, and it helps you replace coffee. It's got incredible all-natural ingredients. It's got adaptogens, which help decrease stress. It's got nootropics to boost blood flow and cognition, and matcha to help keep you focused throughout the day. I have been loving Magic Mind. We've been using it now for a little bit over a month. It comes in this small bottle, which you can take almost like a shot. I keep it right in the fridge. It has this great packaging where I just unbox it and put the packaging for Magic Mind right in my fridge, flip the top open, grab my Magic Mind, close it, and then I'm on with my day. I usually let it sit, and then I just throw it back right away like a shot. And I've been taking one when I get up, and then a second one right around the middle of the day because, as you guys know, I coach soccer, so I'm coaching late, and so I want that second one to help boost me through the back end of the day and really just keep me focused and high energy. I've been loving Magic Mind, and I think it's a great change of pace for me. I've been drinking a lot of energy drinks, and they're not the healthiest option, and so I've really been weaning myself completely off of them through Magic Mind. So that's why I really recommend it to you guys, and we've been really loving it the last couple of months that we've been taking it, and we think you guys are going to as well.
Yeah, guys, we're really loving Magic Mind, so go check it out. Head on over to www.magicmind.co/winnercircle and use promo code winnercircle20 for 20% off your order. One more time, that's www.magicmind.co/winnercircle and use promo code winnercircle20 for 20% off your order.
All right, so we're back from our ad break, and we are into Tribal Council. And this Tribal Council, I got to be honest, when I looked at the clock and I saw them walking into Tribal Council, I was like, what is going on? Is there going to be like two people leaving? Is there going to be a competition? Does this have to do with Deshawn being the first one out and whatever this twist is going to be? And before, you know, you find out very quickly because Jeff starts talking to them and they start talking, and Deshawn kind of steps up and has this emotional moment. And then we get a deeper dive into why he was getting so emotional. So what did you think about that whole segment with Deshawn, Liana, Danny?
Yeah, this has been a common theme now we're seeing with the reality shows. We saw it on Big Brother. We're now seeing it on Survivor. There's no doubt that this is not for strategy for most of them. It's really something that affects them. And you can tell by the way they react every time they talk about it. I don't think they're acting. I think this is an emotional toll that they're carrying that you and I, unfortunately, we're never going to completely understand. So I thought it was very impactful. I thought Liana gave a great speech, but I will tell you this. I'm always looking at it as from a game perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's just how you and I think a lot.
Right.
So I'm hearing Liana's speech and I'm hearing Deshawn back her up and I'm hearing Danny back her up and then Xander weighed in a little bit. But honestly, the way I'm looking at it is I'm like, guys, you're kind of exposing your alliance here, like your loyalty to each other, because you're saying how hard it was for you to vote out Shan. So I'm thinking like, what are the other players thinking at this point? Are they realizing that like there's an agreement between them to like not go after each other? And how's that going to affect the vote for tonight? So that's kind of what I left that conversation with. Very impactful. It's something, there's a lot of issues in our society. They're bringing that into these games. So, some people don't love it, like Liana said, but they're going to do it. So either love it or don't watch, because it's here to stay. And so I thought it was great. I thought their speeches were great, but I was more looking at it from like a game perspective, because there's a lot of game left.
Yeah. Well, and think about it in a game perspective. And not to take anything away from it, because it was a really powerful moment, and it is a burden. And I only, witnessed it firsthand because I was in the house with David. David always opened up to me about this added burden and this burden that he has on him. And he's like, dude, it's really difficult to deal with, because on one hand, something doesn't seem right here, but on the other hand, I need to stick with, what I came into this game to do and to show to the outside world, a whole different meaning. And I remember saying to him a lot, being like, hey, dude, like, you are putting such a crazy burden on yourself. Like, this is such a wild added burden in a crazy game. And it literally was exactly what Jeff said. If you're sitting in there in that moment and you're like, okay, this seems like they're all together and they're never going to vote each other out. So like that ultimately is what we call an alliance. Think about this in the future of the game now. It's unfortunate because the strategy we saw with the cookout, right? The cookout ultimately now is going down as one of, if not the best alliance in the history of Big Brother. And it had a little, it was really powerful, but had a little controversy around it. And now people coming into these games moving forward, how is this going to affect the game? Right? Like, how is this going to affect the game? Are you going to immediately come in and think, or are you going to be battling internally with yourself? Be like, okay, are the people of color working together like for this bigger meaning? Am I going to be battling that? Oh no, if they're not, am I going to be going down a rabbit hole of pretty much getting myself crucified? Like what change is this going to do to the game? I'm eager to see how this comes out on the other side, because what happened here on Survivor was ultimately Deshawn made the decision. I don't think this is better for my game to stick with Shan. I'm voting her out. And you saw the toll that it took on him. And so seeing that, you're think about it in a game perspective, right? You're like, man, that's how difficult it is. Like, that's how hard. Look at the emotion, the raw emotion that came out of Deshawn from having to send Shan home, and why he felt the need to speak up. Like, he felt like he needed to be heard because he didn't want it to be portrayed the wrong way. But at the end of the day, they're playing this game for $1 million, and that's life-changing enough for an individual.
That's the struggle, right?
That's the struggle. That's the balance.
Do I do it? I came here for myself, but now I have this like bigger purpose. Like, what do I choose?
Think about the cookout, right? And, I'm sure if you go back and I'm sure if we look at some interviews, like, the cookout was this powerful, transcending type of alliance, really bigger than the game. But think about the people that were in the cookout that don't walk away with $750,000. You and I know what that money means.
Oh yeah,
somebody with a family.
Tiffany's come on set. She's like, man, if I had to do it again, it's a heavy cross to bear.
Yeah.
My takeaway is, I think as a future player, if you're going in there, and if I were to go in there again, whether it's Survivor or Big Brother, I think now instead of like everyone checks everything at the door, like, you know what I mean? Like, hey, when we come in here, it's just game. I think now it's like, okay, it's a game, but you have to consider the social issues going on out in the world. Not only just like these types of issues, but any issue. What's polarizing at that time when you guys go into the house?
Right.
Because the alliances and divisions within the house could be based on what's going on in the outside world and where you personally fall on those social issues. That's now a new wrinkle to reality TV game shows, right? Like, what's your feelings on the social issues of the world? Because that's kind of where people are going to align.
Yeah.
I feel like that's going to be an element to it. So it's really fascinating, but I thought it was a good conversation. It's always good to have this type of dialogue. And at the end of the day, if Liana, Deshawn, Danny, Shan, whoever, whoever if they want to use that time to talk about issues that are important to them and bring more exposure to them, that's their choice. And I'm all for it. I respect it. I love it. Yeah. Do your thing.
If you're going to get that again.
whatever's important to you, you do your thing with your time. And if it affects your game and you know that it could affect your game and you're okay with that, I respect the hell out of you. Do your thing.
Yeah.
So let's get into the actual tribal, because that was a big portion of it. But then we get into the do or die challenge, which is crazy. I can't believe this worked out the way it did. But
I thought. Because this wasn't like...
it wasn't even 50-50.
No, that's what I'm saying. I was like,
crazy.
You gave this guy...
Walk us through it. Okay. Walk us through it for the people who might not... I mean, the one person on here who hasn't seen it, but this was nuts.
Yeah. So Jeff brings out 3 boxes and says, there's 2 skulls inside of this box and 1 fire symbol. There's 2 skull symbols and 1 fire symbol. Choose a box. You choose the fire. That's life in this game. You stay. Choose one of the skulls. There's no vote tonight. You go home. A 33% chance.
Stop real quick. 33% chance. Stop real quick. You tell me first. Everyone in the comments right now, pause the video. Tell me what you thought. Was he staying or going when you heard he had a 33% chance?
No way
Cody?
he was staying. No way.
I was like, he's gone. I'm like, he is gone, dude. There's no chance.
I was like, that's not
it's
right.
It's still 33%.
I honestly I got pissed because obviously, like, you know, we're biased. We love Deshawn. So, like, I'm like, wow, this is how our boy's going to go home. Like, we love him. This is how they're going to do him and send him home. Like, vote him out is one thing. But, oh, man, I was like, oh, there he goes. He's gone. He's gone. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, I was like, that's it. Game over. I thought it was a 50-50. Maybe I misheard Jeff, but I thought it was going to be like pull a rock out of the bag and you get the white one, you stay or you go home. I was like, wow, they're actually cutting into threes. The one thing I want to say before you say the result of it, and we're probably foreshadowing here, is I did write a note down on my paper that Deshawn's losing it a little bit. I feel like he's starting to like, he had to like throw a dig at Ricard again. Ricard's too good of a player not to pick up on that.
So
he was like, I know what you're doing. You're jury management.
Right. So at first so this was before he got into the emotional aspect of it. When he first brought it up, I thought, oh, look at him. He can't let it go. Cause I wrote down Deshawn is spiraling. I literally wrote that down but I wrote it down at the beginning of the episode because he was spiraling. Yes. It was like he needed the whole group to know that it wasn't him. It was Ricard. And he, Ricard's the one in this position. And then he needed Shan to know that it was Ricard's idea. But ultimately it's like, dude, you wrote the name down. You agreed to the plan. Don't point at Ricard.
He was doing some hardcore jury management. Like, Shan, are you hearing this?
Was she having
Everyone
it
know.
I also have another note. Shan's face says it all.
Yeah, no, she's not going to give him that. But he was like, okay, thank you. Like, Deshawn, it wasn't a good look. He did it in the episode, like you said. And Ricard, I'm going to be honest with you. I think Ricard's a more strategic player than Deshawn. And I think Deshawn is, Ricard's not stupid. And he's like, I see you.
Mm-hmm.
I see you. And then,
see you next week.
Yeah, I see you next week.
See you later. Because now the numbers,
so
Danny and Deshawn, okay.
There's a lot going on there. But back to the do or die.
Yep. Do or die.
Hit us with it.
So Deshawn picks a box. He goes, this is what my heart is telling me. I'm picking this box. Jeff goes, okay, I'm going to reveal one of these 2 boxes because Jeff obviously knows which is which.
He's got to do it.
He flips up the skull. Now he gives him an opportunity to either trade boxes or keep his own box because now he knows, okay, it's a 50-50 chance at this point. It's no longer a 33% chance. It's 50-50. He sticks with his box. He ends up getting the fire. He lives to see another day in Survivor, and he makes it to the final 6. I loved it. I just was so pissed that they did him like that. I was like, 33%
Go play a lottery ticket,
You don't even get to compete?
Nah. And I mean, let me ask you, because you brought it up. Like, do you think Jeff knew what box it was, the fire? And do you really think he knew?
He knew right away.
So he's a savage.
So
he knew. So, dude, he knew he picked the right box and still almost made him try to change.
Yeah. And so my thing is that
that's savage.
So this is my question. Was that predetermined? Was it like, okay, I know which ones they are because say he picked one of the skulls.
Right.
Or say, no, it wouldn't matter. Jeff would have done it anyway. Say he picked one of the skulls. Jeff would have, grabbed the other skull that's sitting there, ultimately leaving the fire in front of Jeff and opening up the switch. So actually, I do think he was, no matter what, he was going to give that chance. No matter what, he was giving that chance.
But I mean, it's like, I would have been, if I was Deshawn, because I overthink everything, I would have been like, why is Jeff allowing me to like maybe switch right here? Is he knowing that I picked the wrong one? Is he trying to help me out and keep me in the game? Like, what do I do? But he stuck to his guns. He got the stake. Congratulations to Son, you're saying. And that doesn't mean he's technically safe for the week, right? He still has a vote. He could still be voted out.
Yeah.
He's just survived the do or die.
No, he still has a vote, but he is now, you cannot send him home.
Okay, so he can't be sent home, but he can still vote. So we get to the vote, and there's really no drama, no whispers, no nothing. They got right to it because most of the episode was the conversation that they had amongst the entire tribe, which was very impactful. Then you have this whole, do or die thing, which was crazy. And then you have the vote. And they didn't give us much during the episode that suggested who was on the block. I thought it could be Ricard because I knew Danny was gunning for him. Mm-hmm. Erica was thinking about going for him as well, which could have gave them the numbers. And then there was also Liana. Liana was someone that a lot of people were throwing around. So I was really intrigued to see who got voted out tonight, especially after this really impressive speech that Liana just gave about how she's representing more than just herself. So we get down to the vote. They always make it interesting. It got up to the point where it was 3-3 tied between Ricard and Liana, and then the final 2 votes were for Liana, and she went home. So what it looks like, stop me if I'm wrong, is Liana, Danny, and Deshawn voted for Ricard.
Correct.
Everyone else voted for Liana.
And Xander doubled down. He put 2 votes to Liana.
And he didn't even need to.
He didn't need to, but
so he kind of
burned one of his votes.
But he wanted to make sure in case because he thought Erica might flip.
Yeah. So he probably, which was probably not part of the episode, it was probably a conversation that he had with Ricard, because what we found out this episode is that he really trusts Ricard. He trusts Ricard the most.
He does.
And when
he does,
Ricard's name was flown around, he made sure he told Ricard. So I want to leave. So Liana ends up going home 5-3, and that leaves us with Danny, Deshawn, Erica, Heather, Xander.
Yep.
Xander. Ricard. So Danny, Deshawn, Erica, Heather, Ricard, and Xander. Who right now do you see has the best path to win?
Xander still has an immunity idol. He's good at competitions. He's now in the majority. He's got 2 people. I think that. Oh, you're shaking your head. No, who do you think?
No, I'm saying because I was just kind of sizing it up, and then I was seeing what you were saying, and
he's getting the edit too. He's getting the winner's edit.
Mm-hmm. The edit of wait a minute, he was in trouble. Oh, wait a minute, now it's going in his favor. Ricard's name is out there floating around. Deshawn's name is out there floating around. Nobody's mentioning Xander, but they did mention Xander's idol, Liana did, which if Danny and Deshawn, it just shows, I love Danny and Deshawn. It just was not the right move. Shan had a lot of power, but they also had the power in numbers. Mm-hmm. And once they sent Shan home, so wait a minute, I'm trying to think back because Shan was, so that was when it was 7, or no, that's when it was 8 of them, right? And so
they had 4, so they were 50% of it.
It was 4, but they were 50%. But again, I was saying last week, no matter what, I think Shan was going home because Xander had that extra vote. I think he would have pulled it if he had to. So Shan was going home. It was kind of not going in their favor anyway. But I don't think what the problem is that the only way you do something like that, and I'm talking about Danny and Deshawn, is if you are really in good grace with the other, with like the other half of the tribe. And I don't think Danny, I think it probably hurt Danny the most. Because you saw previews
they're
of
on
Deshawn,
the outside now.
And now they're really on the outside. But I think Deshawn has been like kind of like creating relationships. And I don't think Danny was really doing that. Danny's a team-oriented guy who's like, I'm sticking with my team. And yeah, I'm obviously going to have conversations, but not anything in depth. And so I think Danny is probably in the worst position.
And I see a situation where it's kind of Danny Ricard. I'm sorry, it's Xander Ricard, Danny Deshawn, and then Erica and Heather. And I think personally, Ricard, Xander are going to be going after Danny and Deshawn, and because I think they feel that whoever lasts, if they can get to the end with Heather and Erica or one of them, there's usually 3 in the final before the fire making challenge. If you can bring one of them to the end with you, whether it's Heather or Erica, even though Erica's played a little better game than Heather, I think the consensus among the tribe and among the jury is they're not voting for them to win the $1 million. So if you can get one of them there, it's one less person you have to beat. And so I think Ricard is probably looking at, hey, I got to get Danny or Deshawn before they get me, and vice versa. They're thinking the same. So I think it's going to come down to a battle between those 4 people, unless you have like a wild card where Erica or Heather come in there and go on a tear and win a couple immunity challenges. Not likely based on history, but that's why it's Survivor. Anything can happen. But I think that's going to be, I didn't see the previews for next week.
So I'll give you a little tidbit.
Yeah, please.
But I want to
hit
say
me with
this
it.
first. If Danny or Deshawn or Erica or Heather at that don't come to the realization of like, this guy Xander is at the end of every single competition, and he has an
Everyone.
idol. So he is somebody that probably is in the top like 10% of chances to win an immunity every week, because you don't have to sit out. And he also has the idol in his pocket. If they don't muster up that this guy needs to go home, he deserves to win the game. And if they don't see it, they deserve to lose the game.
Somebody might catch me here, but the way I'm looking at it is you can use immunity up till 4. So he basically only has to win or survive two more tribal councils, and he's in the final 3. So he basically, if he wins one of the next 2, then he has the idol for the last one.
And then he's going to be so it's 1 out of 4. He's going to have a 1 in 4 chance of getting to the final 3. And I got to be honest with you, as people start to go, his chances to win competitions go higher because he's already winning. But I will say this, in the previews, they showed that there's another idol. That's going to be on the island. They showed Danny kind of looking for it, thinking that there's going to be one. So that's a huge twist. And they showed Deshawn linking himself to Xander and Erica. Now, I don't know how serious that is. Xander seems to be kind of showing more of he's a gamer. You know, when he was having a conversation with Danny, he was like, listen, I know where my loyalties are because it's to the people that kept me safe. And I don't know that was you. And Ricard, whether it was Danny or whether it was Ricard placed himself in a better position. So I don't know that Xander's going to really put too much into that, but there is another idol that's hanging around camp. So I'm eager to see who's going to find that one.
Yeah, that could be a game changer for sure. No, it was good. Again, good episode, but not as crazy as these last couple. I left these last couple episodes like all pumped up, but overall still very good season so far. It's going to be interesting to see how the final few weeks go. Anything else to add before I take us out?
Nope. Guys, if you guys haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and turn on those bell notifications.
You got it. Like, comment, subscribe. Go on to the audio Apple Podcast. Leave a message there too. We'd really appreciate it. As always, we appreciate you joining us here on the Winner Circle. We will see you next week.